Welcome to the course introduction. This video is a lecture that outlines the course, the type of assignments that are in it, what you can do to succeed. Now, the first thing you need to know about this class is that I personally, and I am biased, but I think it may be one of the most important classes you ever take. I love teaching this class because I truly believe in its power to help people live better lives. Some people think money is not important at all. You shouldn't need to worry about it, and it's not important. Other people, their whole life is about money and getting more money and the things that money can buy. And there are people everywhere in between on the spectrum in terms of attitudes towards money. The simple fact is that money affects every part of our life, whether we think it should or not. It affects our relationships. The stress of having to worry about money and paying the bills leaks into our love life and causes friction and fights that causes oftentimes couples to break up. It affects our relationship with our children. Can we take them to Disney World, or do we have to settle for something else? Every part of our life, whether we think it should involve money or not, has some type of financial component to it. And so managing your money well is, in my opinion, one of those things you have to do to minimize the amount of stress and difficulty in your life. That's my goal for this class, to help you learn how to manage your money in such a way that you have minimal stress and live a better life. I'm going to push you. You're going to be challenged. I hope, though, that it's worth it. Now, this class is not necessarily especially difficult, but I also can't make it particularly easy either. If I make things so simple and easy that you just slide right through it, then it's not useful to you. For example, let's say we're doing our calculations on cars and how much you can afford to buy and how much the loan will cost. If I simplify that too far, and then you graduate and you leave, and you're actually sitting in a car dealership and you're trying to do what I taught you in class, but you can't because reality is more complicated than what we did in class, then what I taught you doesn't have a lot of value, does it? So I have to push you. There's a certain level of complexity that's required in order for this class to actually be effective at helping you make good financial decisions. But I've structured it in such a way that if you just try and push and practice, you can get a good grade, no matter how difficult you may find the topic. This image is from a Saturday Night Live skit. He says, "Did you know that millions of Americans live with debt that they cannot control? That's why I developed this unique program for managing your debt. It's called Don't Buy Stuff You Cannot Afford." To a lot of people, money management really is this simple. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. But as you'll see throughout this course, it actually is not nearly that simple. I'll give you just one example. Don't buy stuff you can't afford. How do I know how much I can afford? If I'm using debt to buy, say, a house, then how much can I afford to borrow? How does the interest rate in terms of the loan, how do those things affect the cost? How much things cost changes depending on how you pay for them. And how much you can afford also changes depending on your circumstances. So it's not that simple to figure out. I've always enjoyed this survey, and a survey of 1.3 million people, asking them, would you rather never have to worry about money or live in a world with Pokemon? 84% said they would rather get rid of their money problems than live in a world with Pokemon. And that's pretty telling to me because we all know it would be really awesome to have our own Charizard. But as amazing as that would be, much more people would rather not have to worry about money than worry about it. And so money management seems like it should be a simple thing. Like it doesn't have to be that complicated. Just don't overspend. But it is. It's very difficult. We're blending psychology and intangible things like love and comfort with hard math and finance and numbers. And that's difficult to do. You're doing that every day of your life. Every time you decide to buy something, you're deciding that the thing is worth more than what you're paying for it. That makes it difficult to give a single answer to what is right and what is wrong. In this class, we are not going to tell you rules to follow, because rules always have exceptions. And if you find yourself in an exception, but all you know is the rule, you're going to follow the rule and make potentially a big mistake. Instead, I'm going to focus on the thought process, the rationale, helping you understand the nature of the decision, the variables involved, how they affect the decision, so that when you encounter a situation that's not like a scenario we talk about in class, you can think your way around it, and you can problem solve and find a solution that's effective for you. But that's difficult. That involves rewiring the way you think. A few people are naturally good with money. That's how their brains are set up. But most people are not naturally set up to think that way, and so most students who take this class find that it's difficult to change the way they think about things. Okay, you're going to need a financial calculator for this class. You can pick up the physical calculator at Texas Instruments BA2 Plus. It's available in most office stores, and they tend to be not that difficult to find. You can get it on Amazon as well. Alternatively, if you don't want to pick up a physical calculator, you can purchase an app. These two apps on Android and Apple are available, and they work exactly the same as the physical calculator. So when we're doing math examples, we're going to be telling you exactly which buttons to click. If you have these two apps, you can just click those exact same buttons on your app, and it works exactly the same. Now, there are free financial calculator apps that you are welcome to use. If you have a graphing calculator, you can use that as well. I really don't care what calculator you use, as long as you can get it to work. So if you want to go outside of these three recommended calculators, physical, the iTunes, and the Android, if you want to go outside of those, you can, as long as you're willing to figure out how it works and make sure that it does work. I can't promise to be able to help you with a different calculator because I have not used every calculator out there. So I recommend you go with one of these three. They tend to not be very expensive. In order to be financially literate, so you can make good financial decisions, you need three things. First is knowledge. This is basic terminology and concepts. Next, you need skills. This is the ability to do the math behind the problem. So knowledge helps you understand what the problem is. Skills helps you analyze the different options available to you. And then finally, critical thinking is taking the math numbers that you've calculated and combining them to make an effective decision. And we're going to help you develop all three of these skills in this class. You're going to get knowledge by reading the textbook and watching the lectures. Every lecture has a quiz associated with it. So when you're watching the lecture, I suggest that you print off or have on your tablet or something before you a copy of the lecture quiz assignment. And then you can just follow along and fill in the blanks as the lecture goes. And that way, when you go to complete the quiz, it should be very easy to get a perfect score because you just followed along. That's where you're going to pick up basic terminology, concepts. The textbook has examples and practice problems that you can work on to practice the skills. In this course, we identify 9 essential financial mathematical skills. Those are outlined in the book. Each one has its own chapter. When you get to the unit will identify which skills you need to practice, and you can pick those up from the textbook. Once you've practiced, you can do the practice quiz. Every skill has a practice quiz. You can take this practice quiz as many times as you like. After you complete the quiz, it will tell you the correct answer and what you submitted so that you can practice and practice and practice. You have unlimited attempts. So keep going at it until you can get perfect scores consistently. That's how you'll know that you've mastered that skill. Once you've mastered the practice quiz, then you can take the skill quiz and prove that skill. The skill quiz is worth more points and you only get 2 attempts on it. So if you try the skills quiz and you vomit, you can go back and practice some more. And then once you feel a little more comfortable again, come back to the skills quiz and take it again and try to see if you can get a better score. It shouldn't be too difficult to get very high scores on these quizzes because, again, you can practice an unlimited number of times on the practice quizzes. So practice, practice, practice until you get it. Critical thinking you're going to develop and demonstrate through the case study and essay. The case study is going to be broken up into 4 separate assignments. You'll submit one portion of the case study with each unit. At the end of the semester, you'll write a short essay outlining the strategies and concepts of the course as they apply to you personally. So you're going to think about your own life, your own background, your own circumstances, your own preferences, and take course concepts and integrate them with your personality and life, and show me that you understand the things that we have talked about. Now the class has 4 units. In Unit 1, we're going to talk about just some of the basic tools and rules of finance. We're going to talk about the psychology of money, its role in our life. We're going to talk about the time value of money and start the basic financial calculations. We're going to talk about financial statements and ratios, and budgeting, and income taxes. Unit 2, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about all different types of debt: credit cards, mortgages, car loans, student loans. Talk about how to calculate how much those will cost you, the expenses, the interest, and the logic and rationale of borrowing, and how to do that efficiently. Unit 3, we're going to talk about investing in your human capital, developing your career, the nature and characteristics of investments, retirement accounts, and various strategies to use to help you get the most out of your investments. Finally, in Unit 4, we're going to talk about risk management. We're going to talk about not just life and health insurance, home and auto insurance, but also just general risk management practices and techniques outside of insurance. I'm going to wrap up and talk about estate planning, how to make sure that your loved ones are taken care of after you die. Again, each unit is going to have certain chapters assigned to it for you to read. So you're going to read the textbook chapters first. Then you're going to watch the lectures. Each unit has 4 lectures. Watch the lecture, fill out the lecture quiz, and then submit that quiz on Blackboard for credit. Once you've done that, then you can practice the skills. Open your textbook, go to the skills for that unit, look through the examples and the practice problems, and then start taking the practice quiz until you've mastered it and gotten a perfect score on the practice quiz. Once you've done that, then you can take the skills quiz and confirm that you have mastered that topic. Once you finish the skill quiz, then you're ready to work on the case study for that unit. And so you'll sit down, you'll take your knowledge from the readings and lectures, you'll take the skills from your practice, and you'll apply them in a scenario that will help you see how to integrate that information in a critical thinking capacity to help your client reach their goals. You're going to follow that same format for every unit. Now, the course does offer extra credit. The extra credit is 10% of the total score. Basically, what that means is it's 1 letter grade. So if you end the class with, say, an 80% overall average, but you've done all of the extra credit, that will pull you up to a 90, which is going from a B- to an A-. So that's a full letter grade. The reason I have so much extra credit is because I recognize that this is not easy or natural to most students. This topic is challenging. And so you're going to have 1 extra credit opportunity per unit. You have to submit those on time. They're not accepted late. You need to think of the extra credit like insurance. You can't get in a car accident and then call Geico and say, hey, I want you to pay for my car accident. They're going to say, okay, very good. What's your account number? And when you say, oh, I don't have an account, I don't have a policy with you, but I would like you to pay for it, they're just going to hang up on you, right? If you don't buy the insurance before you crash, it doesn't do you any good. So the extra credit's your insurance. Get it early because you won't get it again. If you miss your opportunity, you miss it. The course is designed to encourage you to do the things that will actually make you successful with your finances as well. Thinking ahead and preparing for the worst. Those are critical skills for financial management. You need to do both in this class. How to succeed. First, study carefully. Don't skip the readings. Watch the lectures. Take notes. And shortcuts will hurt you. Practice, practice, practice. You do the practice quizzes until you can master them. Don't get tired and don't quit. Ask questions. I'm always happy to answer questions and clarify. Make sure that you're understanding the topics. And take your opportunities when they're given. Again, you have to get the extra credit during the unit in which it's offered. If you miss an extra credit assignment, it's gone. The opportunity's gone. Watch your deadlines. I do accept late work, but only for 1 week. So if you miss a deadline, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can submit late within 1 week. There is a late penalty that will apply, but you can still get partial credit at least. And this, again, is intended to mimic reality. If you don't file your taxes on time, the IRS doesn't care why. You can send them a note saying your dog died, and they'll say, sorry to hear that, here's your fine. The bank doesn't care why your mortgage is late. They're still just going to give you a late fee You're going to get a late fee if you're late, but you can turn it in within 1 week. After 1 week, I don't accept it anymore. You just have to get it in because we all need to move forward through the class. Lastly, don't give up. The research has shown that your motivation to succeed is far more impactful on your achievement than your intelligence. Okay, so if you feel like I'm not good at math or I'm not understanding this finance stuff, so obviously I can't succeed. That's not true. Just try. Apply yourself. Do the extra credit. Keep trying. Keep pushing. Ask questions. You can succeed. I firmly believe in every student's ability to succeed in this class and learn the skills that are necessary to help you live a better life with less stress and more satisfaction as a result of a stable, healthy financial situation. That's it for the introduction. Let's go ahead and get started on the class.